Hi, my name is Deenie Simpson, Jay.
My name is Cornegy.
And this is Real Talk.
In real time.
Today we're so lucky to have the amazing and tallest politician in the world, Mr. Robert Cornegy Jr. He's a Brooklyn native running for Brooklyn Borough President.
Yes.
Correct. So if you want to just say hello to the people, feel free.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity
Yes.
to what I believe present a compelling argument for borough presidency. But currently, I'm a council member that represents the vibrant communities of Bed-Stuy and Northern Crown Heights.
Love it.
I am the chair of Housing and Buildings, and in the last legislative session, I was the chair of Small Business.
Okay.
I'm on finance, leadership, the budget negotiation team. I chair the Democratic Conference,
Wow.
as well as I'm on education and state and federal legislation. So I bring up all of those things because I believe that the next borough president should have some experience, and I think it's important to have experience and be a little seasoned, but still have a fresh vision and outlook.
Of course.
And the two positions that I held now in housing and buildings and before in small business, I think are the true pillars for recovery and resiliency. So we have this conversation about recovery after the pandemic, and some of it's around definitely our social justice issues, but for people of color, I think it has to also be centered around economic development and economic justice. And I think I'm uniquely qualified to do that. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We're really excited. That was an excellent interview. Thank you for that. But we did our research and we see you have like an extensive background in politics. And she's actually that's like really, like you said, they should have some experience and also just kind of be from Brooklyn. I love that. You know, us being almost neighbors, you know, I've seen you throughout your career and always been very impressed. So.
Being almost neighbors though, you get to see me walking the kids to school.
1000%.
You get to see me probably not looking the best, cleaning up the yard. So thank you for still inviting me after seeing me as a real person, as a neighbor. Thank you.
This is my husband, by the way.
I'm clear.
We just had a baby, a 4 month old. And a pandemic baby at that. So, but the funny thing is, I'll let you know.
So the interesting part is the first time I saw you was at Restoration, you know, and I really admire your stance and your leadership. And it was during the Black Lives Matter protest.
He was just like, who is that? That's my guy. He just said, that's my guy. That's my guy. So we just the making them coming together, you know, at this point is just kind of like surreal for both of us. So
What I will tell you though, as a father of 6, if you need any advice, holla at your boy.
All right.
I pretty much got it all covered. Four boys and 2 girls.
Oh, wow.
And my oldest daughter, I got to just brag a little bit, just graduated a couple of weeks ago from St. Augustine University in North Carolina, and she's headed to Columbia graduate school. So
Excellent. Love it.
So,
Black girl magic.
Black girl magic, 100%. And my younger daughter, and by the way, she's 6'6", and my younger my younger daughter is 6'4", and she's at a very nice school in DC, and she rows crew, plays volleyball and basketball. So we're not a crew family, as you can imagine. So she's really taking out the athleticism in the family to another level.
I love that.
Yeah, I was about to ask about, does she play basketball?
Sports, right?
No, so the older one actually plays volleyball.
Oh, okay.
I love volleyball.
And the little one, both of them model, but the little one models.
Of course.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about their future.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
That's
amazing.
beautiful.
Well, our daughter is only 4 months, but
I'm just giving you some visions of the future.
you plant some seeds.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love
Absolutely.
it.
I love it. Yeah.
Black girl magic.
Yes,
For
I
sure.
love it. So I'm just going to start with just a basic question of just as in your campaign running for Brooklyn, do you have a vision for the next 5 years? Like, just what do you see as just a concept for us as a community?
So I'm glad you asked that, because usually it's more specific about policy, but the concept for Brooklyn is Brooklyn. If you go anywhere, or if you're from any place else in the world, you know that Brooklyn is a brand.
Yeah.
And under one of the former borough presidents, Marty Markowitz, he was kind of characterized as being the biggest cheerleader for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And so he branded and helped make Brooklyn be like the central focus of the universe. I believe that we're the axis that the world shifts on.
Yeah.
Very
I think we were labeled like one of the 4 top places to live
absolutely,
in the world.
one of the sexiest places to live in the world, which is absolutely true. But expanding on that, creating opportunity. What a lot of people don't realize is that we are a maritime borough, which means we're surrounded by water, and the underutilization of our waterfronts is a big issue. Plus, climate change and resiliency, making sure that our waterfronts are undergirded with climate change, right? So there's 2 big opportunities for us. There's the branding, which brings about tourism and hospitality, which brings about jobs, and then there's the tech portion of the borough where I'd like to see us in the next 5 years as the next Silicon Valley.
Okay.
So there are industrial plazas that we have here in Brooklyn, like the Navy Yard and like Industry Cities.
And further in Sunset Park.
Right, right. That's Industry Cities, and so those. Hundreds of thousands of square feet of industrial space are prime for us to be the epicenter of the world for technology and new technological advances. Plus, with the many campuses, college campuses that we have here, I mean, within a stone's throw, whether it's Medgar Evers, whether it's St. Francis, LIU, we have so much opportunity educationally to be a pipeline to feed what I believe to be the next Silicon Valley. And a lot of people don't expect that from me, but
you're shocking me.
But the reality is, and so if I was going to say something shocking, I often talk about my dualism, right? So there's the political and the athletic, growing up as a professional athlete.
Right.
But then I teach at MIT, so I'm not a genius, but I get to teach a lot of geniuses.
I get it.
And I want this borough to, in the infamous words of Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player, to skate where the puck is going to be. And we know that the puck is going to be in technology and advances in technology. So we should be there. We should create a pipeline for your daughter and my daughters to be able to enter into that world and compete globally. And that's really my vision for them.
I like that.
Did not expect that. I love that. I just want to tap into one thing because I grew up swimming. I'm into water. So when you say we don't utilize the water enough, that's what the concept I've never
We're a maritime borough. So new Brooklynites, I get excited about them because they're looking at Brooklyn Bridge Park, not remembering when that was desolate and there was nothing there. But that same mentality that created a Brooklyn Bridge Park in the last decade and made that a destination place not only for the city but for the world. There are so many waterfront opportunities, whether it's Coney Island or Brooklyn Bridge Park, for us to do that and replicate that model.
I love it.
But we have to be conscious of, while doing that, to create affordable housing opportunities for folks simultaneously, and we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So we can create these waterfronts that are drivers for the economy and drivers for a solid economic development platform, as well as resiliency, while simultaneously making sure everybody gets to participate in that. Because right now in Brooklyn Bridge Park, the homes and apartments there are $3-4 million, so not accessible to the entire community.
But that's like the perfect segue into affordable housing. So that's something that we deal with. We're into obviously real estate, Brooklyn based, but we're seeing like a lot of development. Is there something in place that demands affordable housing out of all this? Like, is there something that is put in place where everybody doesn't feel like they're being pushed out?
Yes. So there are several programs. I guess most notably would be the MIH program, which is the administration program, which people argue over whether or not, but that's mandatory inclusionary housing, which says that if you develop here, so that, as the chair of housing and buildings, I'm acutely aware that there's one way that we regulate housing is when a developer asks for a subsidy, then we get to demand and negotiate the affordability on those projects. But then there's as of right projects where somebody bought the land, they're a developer, they have nothing to do with the city, and they can do all the units as of right and market value. What we try to impose there is mandatory inclusionary housing. Which is not enough. It's generally 80-20. It's not enough. 100% is not enough. But those are a couple of the tools that we use, and then there's several others. So it's not unfettered in terms of development. We really try to create environments that will allow for affordable housing. The problem is with the AMIs and what's truly affordable. So on these projects, where it says yes, it's an affordable opportunity, we know that the AMIs, which are measured by the entire Eastern Seaboard,
is that right?
Yeah. So one of the things we also are trying to do is regionalize or localize the AMIs, because right now your AMIs are inclusive of Westchester County and Long Island, and if you cumulatively add that up, it doesn't. That's not the average of that is way higher than anybody in these localized communities can afford. So the federal AMIs that are handed down don't meet the needs of local communities. So there's a fight from the city council perspective and from the state to say, hey, we want to regionalize or localize the ability to regulate AMIs so that we can get true affordability.
Okay, I like that. And that's a good point. I didn't know about the AMI. I didn't know it was the entire.
And just for your listeners, AMI is the acronym for Area Median Income, which is how they judge affordability. They take everybody's salaries and put it in a pot and average it out. That's cool if you're in a district where the salaries are the average is $38,000 or $42,000. If you average that out, then the numbers would be much lower. But you're including $500,000, $750,000 in these other areas that are regionalized, which drives the AMI.
Another question I had, my wife and I, we nearly drove an hour about a couple of weeks ago looking for parking, and so my question is, with this new upcoming plans for bus lanes and bike lanes, what are your thoughts?
So you have to look at community by community. What they've done is create a blanket a transportation kind of study, which doesn't. You have to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. We are incredibly so where there's major development and it doesn't include parking on that development, then there becomes an oversaturation of parking.
That's how I feel.
Listen, the reality though is there is a kill car culture sentiment out there.
It is.
Right? And so it's hard because for somebody like me who has 6 children, I can't travel around without putting people in a giant Suburban. I'm trying to reduce my carbon footprint just for listeners and not have a giant Suburban. But there are families that are large families throughout the borough of Brooklyn that don't have the luxury of being able to just use public transportation. I'm a biker. I jump on my bike and I want to be safe and I want to have some protected bike lanes. I don't want that to negatively impact parking and those kinds of things. So it's a delicate balance that we have to reach, that we have to strike. So just like we have to share the street between cars and bikes, we also have to share the street between bike lanes and city bike ports and all those kinds of things, which are and now small businesses being able to come out into the street with the extension of their businesses. So all of that is negatively impacting and causing. Listen, I've had everything from proposal to give parking passes to block residents, so only you can park on that block. And I'm like, ooh, like those we've got proposals like that for a neighbor. Like if your card is in the window and you live at 653 Putnam like I do, that's my parking space, and I can park there.
I mean, I like it.
I know. It could get hostile. I don't know if you've been here in the wintertime, which obviously you have, and people have put garbage cans, lawn chairs, whatever to hold their parking spot. So it can get very contentious, but as a city and or with a city planning and urban planning mentality, which I do have, it has to be inclusive of all of that. It has to be inclusive of bike lanes and parking spaces, and to the degree that we can begin to reduce our carbon footprint. So in our community, there are some houses on my block, I ain't calling nobody's name, that have 3 cars or 4 cars in their household, right? So they might want to, narrow it down. Narrow it down, man. Maybe you don't need 3 cars. Maybe you could use 2. And so we have to come to a community meeting of the minds to see what we could do as a community to be helpful to our neighbors. But also there's some policy and legislation that we also need to implement. I don't know whether it goes as far as having parking plaques for your block. So some people, listen, I got people who come to my office every day like, we want these parking plaques. We want to measure out the spaces because some of us are incredibly rude and we don't know how to park tightly.
I've seen that.
Right, so there are proposals on the table, and as the borough president, I'm certainly willing to listen to that. Right now I'm in a 51-member body. As borough president with the largest bully pulpit in the country, I would be willing to try to find a way that we can share the streets, share the parking, as we grow exponentially. When we come out of this pandemic, as you can see, like all of this development that's taking place, a lot of it is still empty. But there is going to come a time after the post-pandemic, when the economy has righted itself, or we've righted the economy, where our streets are going to be teeming with people. And people, because of our new classification as the 4th sexiest place in the world, like people are reading that information. People are coming here, soaking up the community. Like coming here today, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and people are out, and it's beautiful, and people are bike riding and running and pushing strollers. So people are feeling
the
vibe.
community.
We are, like how the young people say, we a vibe. We are a vibe. Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy is a vibe in itself. So, but we have to be planning together to prepare for the influx of new people and all those kinds of things. And then, quite frankly, the new people who come have to be willing to participate in the culture. We have a rich culture of saying hello and good morning and good evening and good night and sharing stories. If you come in here, be prepared to do that because we do that.
Me working here, I do deliveries and I do the real estate. So I get to meet some African natives, and they still, be talking to me about where I'm from, like Ghana. So it's a really a nice place.
This is vibe. This feels like he from Kumasi. This is a Kumasi vibe.
So it's like that. I've spoken to so many people around the borough. I've spoken to the Asian community. They love the vibe, right? So wherever in Asia they're coming from, they love the vibe because it really signifies a unity. And so the last piece for us in my vision is a public safety piece. Like we have to have public safety. People have to feel safe on the streets. And so that's a big part of how we move forward with community policing, with all of these kind of ideas that incorporate safety. So we're about to launch into what's going to be probably one of the most beautiful summers. Recovery summers are always beautiful. With a backdrop of a 200% increase in gun violence.
You actually segued into one of his questions, so please keep going.
I'm sorry.
No,
It's all right. I don't want to steal your thing.
No, it's all right.
But that segue, so at the very same time, when we'll be out again, the CDC's guidelines around now being fully vaccinated and not having to wear a mask publicly, I'm not advocating for that. That was the CDC's guideline.
Understood.
Means that more people are going to be out. More people, plus gun violence and an increase in gang violence could be a horrible picture. One of the things we did do from the current office that I hold is create a guide to services, because one of the things that families complain about is that our young people don't have the opportunity to participate in services that will put them on a pathway to success. And we know that there are plenty in the community, so we actually just literally compiled a guide. I'd love for you to have it electronically. Not about me, but just passing it around so families know that everything from, the marching elite bands that we have, everything that we saw that we did on Black Lives Matter mural is available in our community for our young people for free. So we just need to let people know that those things are available. There are going to be an escalated degree of mental health access that's necessary after the pandemic. Already in our communities, accessing mental health is a stigma. Right? If you, God forbid, you seek some mental health, you're crazy in your family. Right. But the reality is, because of the anxiety, stress, depression from the 14 months of the pandemic and being isolated, now people are going, man, I need some help. And they're not worried about the stigma around it. I hope that continues and that we can access mental health services at the rate that we should be. That the police department is not responsible for administering mental health services.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? So there are a lot of things that we have to do simultaneously while we're thinking about this sexy neighborhood and sexy borough. My job
There's still work to be done.
is to make sure that people are protected and enjoy the sexiness unfettered and unimpeded by violence and gun violence. And part of that is not just the police's role, it's us as a community to make sure that kids have alternatives to gang violence. And so they're not walking through the streets and being recruited by gangs and can't make a decision on whether to join a gang or to be a part of the police athletic league or the Boys and Girls Club or their church, whatever it needs. So resources, we're fighting to make sure that resources are available for these nonprofit programs that deliver these services. So that's the big picture for me, is making sure that we are the safest borough in the city of New York, as far as in addition to being the sexiest, make sure we have the best access to new and emerging demographics around the economy. The beauty of Marty Markowitz, who would be my predecessor two times removed, because Eric is clearly the borough president now. But Marty, in addition to him being a great cheerleader for the borough,
He definitely was a great cheerleader.
Great cheerleader for the borough. It's quick Marty Markowitz story. 9/11. when I was in Lower Manhattan in graduate school. And you couldn't, the trains were down and all of that, and people wanted to get back home. Like if you weren't directly impacted by the towers falling, you wanted to get home to your family.
Exactly.
So the beauty of Brooklyn, we walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. At the mouth of the Brooklyn Bridge was Marty Markowitz saying, "Welcome home."
Wow.
Like that's a Marty Markowitz story that I love to tell. This man stood at the base of the bridge and welcomed folks back home. So there's that spirit, and mentality that's necessary going forward. But then it has to be coupled with a level of acumen to actually bring business. So the beauty of the Borough President's office is that it's such an undefined role that everybody who holds it gets to bring their level of acumen to that role. So currently our Borough President has focused his attention and intention, in addition to everything that's going on, he has a real keen idea about nutrition and about living a plant-based diet life.
I love that. Okay.
Right. Exactly, which is certainly a movement. He made that a priority for his office. And consequently, we are now physically more healthy as a borough, right? And you got to be physically healthy before you can be economically healthy or any of those things. So I get to build on that to make sure that we have jobs and there's access to small. In my first 100 days as borough president, we've already created a fund, a $10 million fund for small businesses to access, not low interest or no interest loans, but actual grants. So when we talk about recovery and resiliency, these small businesses didn't get the stimulus money. The big businesses did. So we've created a fund that deals directly with mom and pop small businesses, 10 and under, where the owner actually is an employee in the business. Like a lot of you who even are realtors or in the real estate business, y'all probably are the two first employees of your business.
Without question.
Right. So the fund is for you so that you can grow your business and build capacity to be successful. So all of those things together, I think, are my vision for the borough.
Wrap up. Emma's giving us the
Emma's behind me. I can feel her behind me.
So I guess that was actually a perfect segue to let the people know. Come on out on June 12th with the early voting, but election day is June 22nd. Please vote for our favorite,
favorite of all time.
Of all time, okay? And I say that like right hard for all Brooklyn residents. Make sure you support his campaign. We're going to continue pushing out there. But Robert Cornegy Jr. for Brooklyn Borough President.
Thank you guys so much for allowing me to spend the morning with you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.